What are we discussing on today's Locked On Diamondbacks podcast? Well, it's crossover time with Locked On Padres to discuss. Is it finally time to take this San Francisco Giants seriously and winners and losers of the offseason so far?
You are Locked On Padres, your daily San Diego Padres podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Now, without further ado, to talk about the NL West and the offseason so far, we got to do it with a little crossover. So let's bring on Javier Reyes of Locked On Padres. Woo! Okay, I don't know what that is.
I don't know either. It's how they like blow into there and they do that. Like I think that's what I was
a little concerning for a second.
Yeah, I know. I was doing like the churro Charles Barkley thing on TNT. Like,
I was like, "Hey, yo!" All right.
Look, what's going on, everybody? How's everybody doing? Aware context, the rare context version of me on today's episode because I was at today. But yeah, doing good, man. It's been, in my opinion, not to like immediately jump on things, but just an awesome offseason. Like, I think this has been so much fun. I really think last year sucked. And I'm not just saying that because Shohei went to the Dodgers. I mean, that did stink, but it really was just Shohei. This year we're getting trades, even some dumb ones, like even ones that I don't agree with, which we're probably going to talk about. And then big sign, you have a big Soto signing. You had the big Blake Snell signing. You still have some big players like Alex Bregman. Pete Alonso's still out there. Nobody's talking about that, right? Christian Walker, the most underrated, like really good power hitting bat in the sport, probably. Corbin Burns, actually the best starting pitcher on the market, and Max Fried was the one that got paid what I think everyone thought Corbin Burns was getting paid. So I don't know. That dude might sign like a $240 million deal. We'll have to see. But yeah, man, been an absolute blast. And I'm looking forward to talking about
how much will Jiraxon of Jurassic Park get paid this offseason? We'll see. We'll discuss that and maybe other guys as well. But let's actually center this topic around the NL West because we're always talking about the D-backs, of course, on Locked On D-backs and the Padres on Locked On Padres. But let's talk about another team in the NL West because we know our teams are right there neck and neck in terms of fighting with the Dodgers, trying to keep pace with them. But sounds like we got a fourth team that we might have to throw into the ring that's trying to be on our level. It's a team that entering every regular season, I'm always like, I don't really take that team too seriously. I know they made some moves, but on paper, the talent I'm never in love with. But entering 2025, a couple more moves this offseason, I could see maybe more of a path to this team being competitive. How do you feel about the Giants' move so far, which is really just Willy Adames, 7 years for like 182? So how do you feel about the Giants going to 2025 so far?
I think it was really important for them. And I think that's why they did this quickly, just to finally win a contest for a top free agent. Even if it doesn't would they have liked to get themselves, maybe a Corbin Burns? Would they have liked to get themselves a Pete Alonso or something like that? I mean, I know they don't really need a first baseman quite as much as other positions, but it's just big for them right now, right? And they got a shortstop, one of the most important positions, and you pair that with Matt Chapman, probably the best like infield defense now in the sport. Frankly, with those two combined, like that's a really, really big get for them. And I just think it's overall, like, I just think it meant so much. I mean, they lost out on Judge. They lost out on Correa after literally signing him. Do you remember that? That was actually like a wild moment. The physical fiasco. And then he signed with the Mets, and then that thing that it ends up happening. So I just think that for a team that's been really struggling to land free agents, and not for the dumb, extremely lazy and what's called politically wrought reasons of it's too dangerous in San Francisco. They've been failing for a long time at attracting free agents. So I just think that this was a big get for them. It makes that side of the infield a nightmare. The combination of him and Chapman. I like the Matt Chapman extension. I guess maybe we could count that for an offseason move that they did. I know that they did it like at the end of the year. I know. But you combine that, it's a team that, look, we basically didn't get to see what Jung-Ho Lee was capable of last year.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think that is a big X factor for this team coming into next year. He only played 37 games. And while he wasn't overly impressive, I think he has more power than people realize. So anyway, I'm just really nerdy about the Giants because they're just a really weird, quirky team. And for under new management, for them to get this signing, I think was a big deal. And combine that with, Logan Webb still over there. They've got some interesting other guys like Kyle Harrison and others. Robbie Ray should be back next
Robbie
year. So
Ray.
your boy Robbie Ray, the infamous D-backs trade. They just traded him for like nothing, and then he all of a sudden figured out how to pitch again. I think this division once again could probably be the best in baseball, and I think that the D-backs were just a little bit unfortunate with some of their defensive stuff, particularly I should say on the relief pitching side of things. They were ranked, I believe, like the best overall offense in the sport, despite the fact that Corbin Carroll didn't do well. So I think Giants are absolutely still in there. And like I said earlier, like there's so many free agents still left. So they can make another splash. And then all of a sudden it's a 4-team division, it feels like.
Yeah, I wonder if they just look at their history in the offseason the last few years of missing out on those tier 1 guys, and they're like, let's not even waste our time. We know we could get in the room. We know we could pitch them and do all this, but at the end of the day, they haven't chosen us in so long. So let's go after that tier 2 guy that's still really good, can give you that all-star level production, and let's just pay him, because I did think it was probably like on the surface an overpay for Willie, but I do like the player in a vacuum. For once, I was like, okay, it's not Conforto or JD Davis or like Jorge. Like, I actually like Willy Adames. I think he is a positive, productive player. So you're bringing in one of the best power hitting shortstops as well the last few years into the building. And then, honestly, my man Robbie Ray might be the X factor for that team, because he was a Cy Young Award winner like not that long ago. Came back last season. I forgot with the San Francisco Giants. I'm gonna pull up Baseball Reference as I'm talking here. I mean, it wasn't the best. He had a 4.7 ERA, but again, coming back off Tommy John, he still had a pretty insane strikeout rate. Like if you're talking about Robbie Ray with the D-backs, it was kind of 3 true outcome Robbie Ray coming back from Tommy John last year: strikeouts, walks, and giving up way too much hard contact. So if he can get back to the guy that we saw like in Toronto with a Logan Webb, who might be the most underrated pitcher in baseball. And then they did have like a couple of young guys that like showed some talent last year. And like a Tyler Fitzgerald, it was like, okay, this guy, for once, a Giants prospect is actually like living up to like the talent in the building, because they've had guys like Patrick Bailey or whatever, like other dudes the last few years, Marcus Luciano, or like any of these random top prospects that they've had that they just can't seem to develop. It seems like they finally found one of these guys that can actually play on the big league level and help this team.
Yeah, they still need more. But again, and I thought it was interesting, the conversation about the overpay for Adames, because when you look at shortstops in WAR, like there aren't many over the past 4 seasons that have as much as Willy Adames. In fact, he's the only shortstop over the last 4 seasons to have at least 20 plus home runs and 70 RBIs in every season. Only one. And then you look at some of the other top paid shortstops. Lindor is getting paid a lot. Obviously, Lindor is better. But then you've got Trey Turner. You've got a couple other guys that I can't remember off the top of my head. So you compare it to this deal, and it's like, this is a premium position. It's actually not bad. The only other player who might, because he wasn't very good this year, is Dansby Swanson. He didn't go for nearly that much money. But in general, I'm like, no, I have no issue with this deal. I think that this is a guy who has been awesome. He's at least been a 3-win player for 4 years now. And he even had a 3-win season back in Tampa too, when he couldn't even see practically that ballpark. Like he was really struggling with that. So I love the move. They need a little bit more though. They need a little bit more. This is still a team that hasn't had a 30 home run player since Barry Bonds, which is insane to think about.
They still look at that outfield and you're like, there's still pieces in the lineup where like it feels like a high floor team right now. They just don't have
yes.
But like, and that's kind of been their thing like the last few years, right? So it was like, we know they're gonna end up with more wins than we expect, but they're still not going to be like that upper echelon. So it's like high floor as always, and then we'll see what happens the rest of the offseason. But so far, I think we'll both say they're a winner of the offseason. We'll discuss more winners of this offseason on our Locked On Diamondbacks, Locked On Padres crossover in segment number 2. But hey, I first want to talk to you guys about Rocket Money, because did you know Rocket Money helps you find any subscriptions you forgot about that you were paying for twice? That definitely helped me I had a few subscriptions that I didn't even realize I was still paying for, and Rocket Money made it so easy to track all of them down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and it helps you lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings you everything you need together in one place, whether it's subscriptions or your spending habits or even the goals you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of over 500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. And also, I want to talk to you guys about Select Quote, because the World Series, Super Bowl, the Olympics, the world's top athletes get to play in these top-level sporting events thanks to one thing: teamwork. And teamwork can also protect your financial legacy and your family's future. Select Quote's licensed insurance agents are the perfect teammates when shopping for customized, affordable life insurance. They can find the right policy to keep your financial legacy safely in your family's end zone. SelectQuote is one of America's leading insurance brokers with nearly 40 years of experience. If you are in good health, they work with carriers that get you the same day coverage for up to $5 million. No medical exam required. SelectQuote, they shop, you save, get the right life insurance for you for less at selectquote.com/lockedon. Go to selectquote.com/lockedon today to get started. That's selectquote.com/lockedon. All right, back here on the Locked On Diamondbacks, Locked On Padres crossover. Javi, you were kind of discussing in segment number 1 how you've enjoyed this offseason. You said it's a lot more fun than last year, and I agree. There's been a little bit more buzz for sure, but at the same time, I could still use a few more transactions. And so from what you've seen already, what has got you going? What has been the most exciting thing about the offseason so far? What do you think has been the best transaction, or which team do you think is winning so far?
So first of all, I just got to say, like, I really think that it's fun, especially like on the East Coast side of things, just being a part of like having so many Mets and
East
Yankees
Coast
fans in my life.
Sure, yeah.
Like everybody's going nuts. And by the way, it's been a lot of fun at a bunch of reasons. Like Blue Jays are the We Tried award of the offseason so far. Like hang the banner. Look, they tried, guys. They tried at all these free agents. That's been really interesting to watch. You've got the Red Sox trade for Garrett Whitlock. That was a big deal. And then obviously so to the Yankees, so to the Mets, and then the Yankees responding by paying Max Fried, who I think is a very good pitcher. Worst ERA in the postseason, Clayton Kershaw. Your tweet was so funny. Look, when we discuss playoff stats, it doesn't mean that like the contract's bad. Mm-hmm. It's just a fun thing to know, because you got to make the playoffs first. Like that matters a lot, especially in baseball. Things just happen once you get there. But it is really funny that it's like, wow. He hasn't been good in the postseason at all. So that's not good for Max Fried, but paid him a lot more than I expected. So that's just been fun to witness. And it might mean that the Yankees might splurge even more. And they did. They traded for Cody Bellinger, which I thought was intriguing move. But there's still some. I mean, you got Gleyber Torres out there, Tanner Scott's out there, Walker Buehler, who just won a World Series, is out there. Your boy Jock Peterson is out there. Oh, yeah. I really like what the Mets did with Clay Holmes. Okay. 3 years, $38 million. I think he has the potential, and we've seen over the past few years some of these guys that teams believe in signing these small contracts that will pay them good money for relievers. And then if they turn out to be a good starter, it is the ultimate bargain. It just seems like a nice like balance for both sides. You know what I'm saying? And I think Holmes has the type of arsenal with the carry that he has, especially on that fastball, to potentially be a decent starter. And if it doesn't work out, no problem. Instead, he's just the most complained about good closer in baseball. And that's because of the Yankees fan base. Like he has like a 2.8 ERA over the past 3 seasons. Like he's been very good. You know what I mean? I'm not saying he's Mariano Rivera, but he's been very good. So I like that a lot.
So you think he has a chance to be like this year's Seth Lugo for the Kansas City?
Yes. Or maybe something in between what you got out of Jordan Hicks and Seth Lugo, right? Like something a little bit of a tweener. And again, what I like is if it doesn't work, it's fine. You know what I'm saying?
Put him in the boat. Yeah, set up Diaz, whatever his name is.
Exactly. The trumpet man. So I like that. And then I think my favorite move of the offseason so far is just because I'm really personally high on this guy. It's Tyler O'Neill to the Orioles.
Okay, I like that move.
Reason why I liked it, I know, because you follow the Red Sox a little bit. You've got your hometown friends telling you.
Hear my winner.
Oh, here we go. I like the deal because I think Anthony Santander is the worst top-level free agent this year. I think he's a trap. I think this is not even becoming a hot take at this point. I think everyone kind of is like, yeah, he's fun. He's lit. I mean, who doesn't want to watch? It's fun. But depending on the team who signs him, if you really need offense and you're counting on Santander, that would make me nervous. If you're a team that's already got a deep lineup and you're like, cool, we could just throw this guy 6, you know what I mean? Our 6th most important hitter, then I think he's a lot more interesting. But in general, I just don't think he has the rounded out skill set. And I think he's going to cost upwards of 100, right?
Yeah.
Like I think he could end up costing 100 million. That's what's being projected by basically every site and prognosticator right now. And you get Tyler O'Neill for 3 years, 49.5. And I'm pretty sure there's an option one of those years. And for me, Tyler O'Neill is a guy that, yes, he does not have the consistency of a Santander, but you get him for infinitely less. And the upside, I think, is bigger because he does more than one thing. He plays really good defense. He has a 30 home run season, 2, in fact, 1 last year, 31 home runs just on their 13 games. Like, he's got on-base skills. Yes, he strikes out a lot, 30% career strikeout rate, but I like that he offsets it a little bit with the walk rate, something that Santander has never done. So at least there's a possibility that this guy is a bargain. He's been a 5-win player before. He was 2.5 last year if he didn't get hurt. It's risky because he can get hurt and because he strikes out so much. But I'd rather do that than Santander, who, what if he doesn't hit 40 home runs again? You know what I mean? Like, Tyler O'Neill could produce just as much value in 112 games, even if he gets hurt, as Anthony Santander might produce in a whole season. So to me, I feel like there's both risks for both those players. So why not go for the guy who could provide amazing defense? He's got 2 Gold Gloves on his resume, and they're not just popularity contest Gold Gloves. They're legit, like, really good defensive seasons by him. So I love that sign for the Orioles, although I wish they would do more.
Yeah, I like both calls because definitely Tyler O'Neill was someone that I wanted as a target for the D-backs with both Grichuk and Jock Peterson as 2 free agents. I thought Tyler O'Neill could be a perfect little DH. I wonder if more teams are going to actually take the D-backs model of what they did this past year. Like, why don't teams sign 2 players to be the DH? They literally got, like, Shohei Ohtani level production out of Jock Peterson and Grichuk. Obviously, that's not going to happen every single year, but you got basically 2 people because you just put them in the best case scenario every single night for both of those guys. So I wonder if more teams do that going forward. But the Orioles so far, I do think, is a winner in general with Tyler O'Neill. And then they did get the Sugano guy. I'm not sure which Asian country he's from, but
I'm pretty sure he's Japan. If I'm not
Japan.
mistaken.
Okay. I couldn't remember if he was from Korea or Japan, but honestly, I was going to say either one. Those guys freaking hit every single year now. It's like, give me any guy from the international waters when it comes to Korea or Japan, because those guys are elite every single year. So it's like, who knows what he's going to be this year? That could be a major X factor. He could be, 90% of what you need from a frontline starter for way less of the cost. And then what you get from Tyler O'Neill, I do like what the Orioles are cooking so far. But like I mentioned earlier, the AL East team that I want to talk about that I like the offseason so far, the Boston Red Sox. And it's because I like the idea of trading for young, controllable starting pitching instead of doing the Yankees model and spending 8 years of $27 to $30 million on a guy who I know is a stud as well in Max Fried, but the back end of that contract, it's just so much money, so many years, and you just know you're going to be so frustrated with him, especially if he's year 1 not good in the postseason. Like, Yankees fans are going to turn on him so quickly. The back end of that deal is going to go so bad. It's like, I would much rather more teams just go into their farm system. We see the Padres do it all the time. The Padres are going out there and just acquiring players through the farm system. They're not always, sometimes they sign, free agents of big deals, but the Padres are also not afraid to, let me just go get Dylan Cease, who is a young, controllable star, and go give up some prospects for him. I would rather teams do that than get these superstar pitchers who are over the age of 30, 7-8 year contracts. I just think those are terrible deals. I'd much rather you just give up a prospect with the gamble of them turning into somebody down the road and getting that Chris Sale, Garrett Crochet that the Red Sox have done now twice with the White Sox instead of going the Yankees model. Let me go 8 years. The Yankees were like, I would rather give you an 8-year deal than a 7-year deal. Like, I think that's kind of crazy, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I totally get it, right? Again, it feels like they were like, we got to do something, man. We just lost our guy. 8-year deal's tough. When Garrett Cole was a free agent, I'm pretty sure he was also a little bit younger. And Garrett Cole also was, I just think, a much more dominant pitcher in a lot of ways. I mean, that guy was striking out like, 50% of batters practically, it felt like, when he was on Houston, and especially before then. I think, yeah, I agree. I think the Sagano thing is interesting. Hey, if there's one thing, I forgot the name of the pitcher on the Cubs who wasn't as hyped coming into the season, who ended up having a pretty Imanaga. So Sagano,
he's a
I
beast.
do think I don't like that. I saw people talking about Sagano's 2017 highlights. That tells me maybe this guy isn't all that good. You know what I'm saying? Like 35, 36 something. Hey, from career, Wusat Go was a guy that was really enticing for a lot of teams in 2019. Then he got hurt. Padres took like a nothing deal on him. I think it was 2 years, $4 million. Never been like played a major league roster. So that, but it's whatever. Like, it's a 1-year deal. I'm still curious to see like what the rest of these teams do, especially with so many free agents still out there. You know what I mean? Like, I like it. And unfortunately, last thing I got to do for the people at home, I really like the Michael Conforto signing. I'm sorry. 1 year, $17 million. I still believe in this guy. Yeah, I know. It's fine. You should eye roll me. Like, I'm an idiot. But I will say I'm a believer in Victor Robles, and he might actually be good now.
Yeah.
Like, I've been holding on to that one for a long time.
Probably going to be a beast, to be honest.
I just think 1 year, it's with that team. They can still have Teoscar Hernandez. It's low downside. He's shown good plate discipline skills before.
Yeah,
he's been
the numbers
very
aren't bad last year.
San Francisco's a really hard park for a player like him. So it wouldn't surprise me if this guy cranks out at least like 25 home runs, 250 batting average, is just like a solid player. I mean, heck, they turned Jason Hayward into a pretty good player for at least 1 year. So I think it's not bad. I like that deal for them, unfortunately. Obviously, the Blake Snell one too. But it stinks. I hate talking about the Dodgers, but it's true.
I don't mind it. My other quick winner of the offseason, I'll go Texas Rangers. Re-signed Evaldi, and I think the sneakiest move so far, trading for Jake Berger, who I really liked as a DH first base option if we didn't re-sign Christian Walker, which is probably not going to happen. I think underrated. He's basically 60 total home runs the last 2 years with like an 800 OPS. Like, he's been sneakily a monster for that terrible Marlins organization. Yeah, and like, he was doing that with the Marlins. You put him in that Rangers lineup that's expected to have a big bounce back next year. Like, he's going to feast in that lineup with the slugger. So I think that was a really, really sneaky move by the Rangers. But how about the teams who are not doing sneaky moves? Teams where I'm like, ooh, over here scratching my head because, like, what are you doing right now? We'll discuss the losers of the offseason so far in segment number 3. But hey, if you already want to get in your wagers for who you think is taking the NL West next year, then the best place to do that, of course, is going to be FanDuel, because get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. My favorite thing to do on FanDuel is the same game parlay. When the Phoenix Suns are on, I don't bet on them. That's how you lose money. I bet on the LA Lakers. Give me LeBron over on points. Give me AD over on rebounds. And give me the Lakers money line, guys. That 3-leg hits, it brings a big smile to my face. And if you want the same big smile, just visit FanDuel.com to get started today. You'll get $150 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more. FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, back here on the Locked On Diamondbacks, Locked On Padres crossover. Let's discuss some losers, Javi. I actually wanted to do a quick shout out. I actually do like the A's for spending money. I don't know if I love Luis Severino, but I do at least respect the A's getting Sevy. They got Jeffrey Springs from the Rays. So just wanted to shout out the A's real quick before we get into the losers, because my first loser is more of an overall concept. It's more about the teams that continue to sit on their hands in the offseason, and you watch and you just complain about the Dodgers and the Yankees and the Mets and all these big money teams. And yes, big market teams do have more money and resources, but the question is, how much of your payroll are you putting back into your team? It's not about how much total are you spending, how much are you spending compared to the rest? Because the D-backs are not the Dodgers in terms of revenue, but I forgot what website it is. Maybe Sportsline. They came out with the Scrooge Index, which basically shows you the revenue for each team and then how much of that revenue goes back into the payroll of the team, right? How much do you put back into the product? The Mets are like number one at 102%. But they're spending more on their team than they're making here, okay? It's insane. Dodgers are number two. And then number three was the D-backs at like 60%. Like 60% of the D-backs revenue goes back into the team. And for me, you don't have to spend like the Dodgers, but spending at the same rate for what your market is, that's the most important thing. I don't need the Minnesota Twins or the Cleveland Guardians or Colorado Rockies to spend $1 billion in the offseason like the Dodgers, but you need to go out there. I think any team that's under 50% putting the revenue back to the payroll, they shouldn't own it. They should not own their major league team. Owners should be kicked out. If you're not spending money on your product, you should not be in it. Yes, Dodgers, big market, Mets, they all have more money, but at the end of the day, it's about the rate of which you take your revenue and put it back into your payroll. So right now, first big loser, the small market teams that just sit on their hands in the offseason, because you could do more. You don't have to spend like the Dodgers, but you can at least be like Ken Kendrick and the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Amen, man. Amen. First of all, way to stick up for your team.
Yeah.
Look, I will keep every time this gets brought up. I know everyone who listens to my podcast is sick of it, but in the last 30 seasons, only 3 teams that were outside the top half in payroll won the World Series. Only 3. And only one of those was really outside of it. They were number 25. That's the 2003 Marlins. They were 25th in payroll. All they needed to have was Hanley Ramirez and Miguel Cabrera. Happened to be on the farm system. But anyway, you're right though. And by the way, like, you can win if I said top half. You know what I mean? Like, we're not talking about you have to be the Dodgers. In fact, it's very rare that the top spending team wins the World Series. But out of those 30 years, I think it's 10 of those have come, or 15. I forgot what it was. I think it was 10 teams that won the World Series in the top 10. So, like, it helps. You need to be spending. That's why whenever I see the Brewers in the postseason, I'm like, no. It's not happening. I'm not history literally shows us. I think it's fair to use this as a stat at this point, right? Like, that's a pretty big sample size. So I'm like, history says you will not win. What happens? Devin Williams explodes, gets lit up by my boy Lindor. They move on back to being not in the playoffs. And Devin Williams is a Yankee right now. So I agree. Absolutely. I think the Blue Jays have been a big loser so far. This is a team that is willing to spend, and they feel like really desperate. You know what I mean? They're like, come, we have Vladdy. And then everyone's like, okay, like, that's cool, but I don't know if it's like the end of the world for me. So not great for them so far. I don't like
the Bellinger. Do you feel like the next big fish to get moved though? Do you feel like the next one, if you had to see like potential superstar trade on the horizon where, Juan Soto level deal or whatever, the big package is going back, do you feel like Vladdy's the next guy?
I think there's an outside chance if they strike out in free agency. Maybe they're like, let's just get what we can for him right now. But still, it's a young player still. He still has a lot of potential. I don't think he's reached it. The full. I feel
like there's some whispers and buzz about it. And maybe it's from like his
I could see them
reporting and leaking some stuff.
Yeah, maybe. But I could also them just saying, we need an anchor. We need a player for our franchise. This has not been a team that's afraid to spend. So it wouldn't shock me if they were to resign him. So we'll see on that front. But for me, right now, they are losers because, I don't know, it just feels like they had a window. And yes, they had that one season that they were awesome, the Robbie Ray Cy Young season. But it just happened that everybody in the AL East was awesome that year, so they missed the playoffs despite winning 91 games, I think. So that's unfortunate, but don't love that. A little bit of a loser for me. I know they signed Shane Bieber. I hate that I'm hearing that the Guardians want to dump Josh Naylor. I just think that says so much, and it's them kicking the can down the road.
Already
So
traded Jimenez for what reason? It's like, what are we doing here for Cleveland?
It's because he cost $15 million, I guess, or whatever it is, and they want it to be $7 million. It just I don't care if it actually ends up being smart and Josh Naylor has a bad year. This is all they do, though. If you were a team that trades out and you also couple that with some spending, like say the Padres do, then I'd be a little bit more on board. But right now, it just feels like you're kicking the can down the road. I don't like the Cody Bellinger move.
Oh,
I think that this guy, there's a reason why nobody wanted to sign him all that much last year, for at least as much as he asked for. The discrepancies in all of his numbers. He hit as many home runs as he did. He had the good WAR. I get it, but his weighted on base and expected were way off, and his hard hit rate wasn't good. It didn't seem right. Now, I think he's a good player, but this type of trade for the Yankees, to me, it just doesn't feel like, I don't know. It feels like you suck the air out of the, wow, we lost Soto. Well, we're gonna no. Now we're going scorched earth. Now, you know what we're going to do? We're bringing in Pete Alonso. We'll see how you Mets fans like that.
That's what they needed. That would be so nasty. That's like the fan fiction.
I want it so bad. I want it so bad. We need to do a fan fiction episode one time, but
good.
I would love that.
Time, actually.
It feels like you're trying to be cute again. They tried to be cute with the Donaldson trade, right? That didn't end up working for a number of reasons, including off-field annoyances that he had with Tim Anderson. And then you did the Verdugo trade. I get it. You wanted another outfielder. That guy is really bad. You know what I mean? Alex Verdugo is not good. Top trade piece returned in the Mookie Betts deal, by the way.
Connor Wong?
So, look, I don't think Bellinger's bad, but there is a feeling of like, are you guys getting a little cheap again? So I'm worried about it because I think he's okay. I think he's okay. So I think Verdugo isn't a good player. I think that Bellinger is.
Yeah, Bellinger's problem, he's like the most volatile variance player in the sport, where it's 1 year at this point, he's either the MVP or he's maybe Alex Verdugo, where you just don't know what player you're getting night to night, season to season. And it's crazy because he could go out there and in Yankee Stadium being, the kind of hitter he is. He could have a monster year next year, but also if he just turns back into the pumpkin he was from 3 years ago, that also wouldn't surprise you at all. I thought the Yankees, I'm glad they got Bellinger because they were kind of the team that was rumored, we missed out on Juan Soto, now let's pivot and go get Christian Walker, man down first base. Like he's the kind of like the perfect to share a type, maybe not that level of ceiling, but power, elite defense. Like that's their kind of first baseman. I thought they would have pivoted right away to get him. So do like that as a D-backs fan. Still don't think we'll resign him, but I didn't hate the Bellinger signing just because we'll see what he can do in Yankee Stadium as that high variance player. And you don't have to pay the whole salary for him too, which is nice as well. But to be honest, there's not too many moves so far. I think honestly what I don't like from this offseason, I think there's just a lot of mid-tier pitchers getting paid a lot. I just think the market for pitchers is just going up, with Kikuchi getting 22 a year from like the Angels, Frankie getting 17.
Why?
I just think
Can I put them on losers, by the way? Can I put them on losers? Because what are we doing? Why are you so hell-bent to be a 70-win team? Like, I have no idea what the Angels are. It just doesn't make any sense what they're doing. But anyway, go on. Sorry.
Like, if you're gonna spend 22, like you could get someone good for 22 million. Like, I don't understand why you would just get like someone could be like your number 3, number 4 starter when you need talent on the Angels. And it's like, okay, where you just talked about Vladdy is like, is he the next star? How about Mike Trout? When is he gonna get moved? I want him in a good situation. I'm pro team Mike Trout. Please put him in a good situation. Like at this point, and it's so sad because he feels like almost like near the end of the line. Like he's only like 32 years old, but because of all the injuries the last 5-6 years, it feels like Mike Trout's like 38 years old, like almost out the door. But it's like if he put together somehow like a 145 game season next year, like he'll probably finish as an MVP finalist because he's still that good when healthy.
It's just like the Angels are just the killjoy of Major League Baseball. They just ruin fun. That's what they do. They eat it like Pac-Man eats the ghosts. I just I don't get it. The truth is that before the 2023 season, they should have they should have traded away both Ohtani and Trout for like a crap ton of prospects. That's what they should have done. They should have aggressively done that. And they might be they'd be in like a national stage already where it's like, okay, we see it. We see the plan. You know what I mean? That's where they would be right now, but they unfortunately didn't do that. It stinks, but I'm kind of with you on the pitcher thing. I think pitchers are going for an egregious amount right now, which is kind of the reason why you've heard some trade potential stuff with the Padres and Dylan Cease, because it's like, wow, if teams are going to spend that much on pitchers, they might want to just trade for a guy that's only making like maybe 13, 14 million this year. So that's interesting. And it makes you wonder, like, are guys like Sean Manaea and Jack Flaherty and Walker Buehler, like, are those the guys you really want to go after and be like, there's upside here? I think Nick Pivetta is going to be an awesome ad for a team that's contending. Hear me out. He throws innings. He's a Chad innings eater. He throws innings. So like the Padres, that's the perfect like type of signing for them right now, where you're like low 4s ERA. We've got a great pitching coach. Maybe you make him a little bit better, right? But all you know is he just pitches. He'll go out there and give you innings. And sometimes that matters a lot more than I think people realize. Be a Chad innings eater. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everybody loves that.
Yeah, Pavetta's like the perfect case study for people who are like nerds versus people who just like watch the sport. Because like the nerds are like, look at the advanced stats, look at the expected ERA. Like this guy every year is going to win the Cy Young. And then the norm people are like, I don't know. He's a 4 ERA every single season. Like how good is he really? So it's like he's either going to be fantastic or just continue being who he is wherever he goes next. Which is,
and it depends on what his role is, right? Like if he's a 4 or 5 starter, I think that's awesome. If he's like needed desperately on a team, it's like, all right, whoa, you guys are be a little bit too aggressive on that one, but we'll see. Basically what I'm saying is I'd love for the Padres to sign Pivetta for like 2 years 40, or no, wait, that's a lot, but you get my point. Like a 2 year, like a small deal.
No, but that's probably the going rate. 2 years 40.
Like pitching's getting nuts right now. It's like, what is Jack Flaherty gonna make, dude? Like Jack Flaherty might make a ton of money.
Yeah. He's going to get like 20 to 25 probably, which is insane. He's coming off a great season, which just went to the World Series as like the number 2 starter or whatever. Like, he's probably going to get a lot of money. So we'll see what happens. Still so many free agents still out there that needs to be signed. Corbin Burns is going to get a ton of money. I still think Alex Bregman is going to be the most overpaid free agent this offseason. That's still my biggest prediction. Buyer beware, Alex Bregman, but we'll see what happens there. That's Javier Reyes of Locked On Padres. Javi, where can the listeners find you online?
Can find me at Javipeno on Twitter /X and Blue Sky, JAVIIPENO. And at @Padres as well. If you want updates on the show, I haven't been using that account as active as I usually do, but I'm going to get back on that soon. And then subscribe to Just Baseball newsletter. Been working on that as well. And I've been writing some articles, including on Jurex and Profar, and how, you know who was a loser? One last one. The rest of MLB for you being too cowardly to go after Jurex and Profar. Where are the news? Where's the rumors on this guy? He was really good at it. It's legit. This is not Bellinger. This is not a fluke guy. Yeah, he's a good player. He knows what he's doing. So
he can still play first base. Like the D-backs might need Profar to play first base, and he can play like everywhere. Like, I kind of want Profar on the D-back just because he could play 8 positions and DH a little bit. I don't think it'd be bad. Follow me wherever you stream podcasts. At CareerTimes24 on Twitter, Locked On Diamondbacks Twitter, Instagram for the podcast handle and all that jazz. And please hit subscribe to Locked On Diamondbacks, Locked On Padres on YouTube. Another crossover. We'll be doing a whole bunch of these this offseason. Until next time, Javier, doses.